The long-anticipated Five Nights at Freddy's movie from Blumhouse is finally out. I saw it tonight, and of course this is going to be a spoiler-free video. I will have a spoiler discussion of sorts coming out tomorrow or the next day. This is a film that I can't say I was too excited for, but I just wanted it to be fun. It stars Josh Hutcherson and Matthew Lillard, as well as some other decently familiar faces, although nobody with a name as big as those two, and of course is a movie adaptation of the massively popular game series, which probably has gone on to be one of the most iconic game franchises of all time. And I just want to tell you kind of my backstory with it quickly, because I know that will be what's flooding the comments. I'll try to do this fast, but my first experience with the game was with my friend up at his cottage, probably in about 2014, 2015-ish. I think it was kind of towards 2014. I think it came out 2013. So I don't know exactly which one it was. I don't know what was out at that time, but we were at his cottage. We were a lot younger. We were on his iPad playing this game, and it was like, wow, this is scary. This is not something that we were used to, but it was such a huge game. Since then, I have played the VR game a little bit with my friends, which is still the scariest game ever. One of the scariest things I've had to endure is trying to tune the instruments. I think it's a bass guitar or just a regular guitar. And yeah, VR is scary. And earlier today, I downloaded the first game on my phone just because I was like, you know what? I haven't actually completed a full Five Nights at Freddy's game. I'll do it because it is fun, and it's definitely something that will be fun to do with a group of people, especially in university. And finally, earlier today, I watched some lore videos just in case there was stuff I needed to know for the movie, but also it's its own movie, so there will be people going into it who know almost nothing about the game. It has to explain that. It was fun to watch. The lore is so complicated, so it was just, I had time to kill, so I did that anyway. With the movie, we have the basic storyline with, a security guard going to watch over Freddy's place. The animatronics start doing some weird shit at night, plus some other subplots that I'm not fully going to get into because there's stuff that could be considered spoilers, or just some stuff that you don't need to know going into the movie. It's stuff that you will experience going into it. I saw the teaser and maybe the full trailer back when it originally came out. I remember when Jason Blum was tweeting about Blumhouse getting the rights and the start of this movie, and everyone was really excited. And I can't say I was too excited for the movie, but I was interested in it. I'm not going to lie. I was interested. My criteria for the movie is it had to be better than Willy's Wonderland, and it had to have some decent, like fun moments. As with almost everybody else, I do wish it was an R-rated movie because, especially earlier today, going through some of the lore, there's some pretty brutal stuff here. It being PG-13 definitely holds it back at times, but overall this movie is fine. It's nothing great. It's not terrible. It's just really all not that good. And there are points with this that I will have to avoid, and I will do everything I can. Like, there won't be any spoilers. So don't worry. Obviously, I always recommend seeing a movie before you watch any reviews. I don't watch any reviews before I make my own. So if I say stuff that sounds similar, that's why. All I knew was that it was getting bashed on Rotten Tomatoes earlier today. And that's about it. So my expectations kind of stayed the same because this did not feel like a critics movie. And coming out of it, I understand why. My biggest issue with the movie is that it doesn't lean into being a horror movie, which you could be like, okay, whatever, it's kind of for younger kids. But when you think of it, Five Nights at Freddy's is a scary game. I know there's been scarier games, but the thing that made the game so scary was the lack of seeing some stuff. You're looking at the monitors, they're moving around, you don't know fully where they are, you're looking in the shadows, is it there, is there not, jump scares, stuff like that. This film does not do that, and it tries to lean into more of a melodramatic story with some really awkward comedy in the second act, which is terrible. There's a few physical comedy jokes with a certain character that it's not like anything major. It's just a character you'll know when you see the movie who it is. It's a very minor side character that means nothing to the FNAF lore or anything like that. But for the most part, the comedy does not land, and because so much of this movie depends on that was disappointing. And again, this is my way of trying to get around it, but the way the director and I can't even fully blame the director because I know this is not a director's movie, this is a studio's movie. The certain choices they make with how they show the animatronics is horrible. Like just straight up, it's not scary. This movie is barely even a gateway horror film. There are moments where people jump because there are jump scares, which I, of course, am susceptible to jump scares. When I play the game, is scary, as I said. This film, the jump scares do not hit. They are so obvious. But when it comes to the writing, there are so many, like, even lines of dialogue, which you know exactly what they're going to say next. You know exactly where this plot point's going to go. There are things that could be considered twists and stuff like that, which are obvious, even if you don't heavily know the stories and stuff like that. As I said, I watch the lore videos, but really it's like the whole timeline of it, so I don't know, oh, this is from this game, this is from this game, whatever. And I know there are little things in here. I saw it with 3 other friends, 2 of them who know a lot more about the games than I do, and my other friend, so there are little Easter eggs that are nice in there. But honestly, I can see so many Five Nights at Freddy's fans coming out of this feeling very disappointed because, well, obviously it's not scary at all. But they pick and choose certain things from what I know about the entire story. Some that make sense, some that make absolutely no sense, and it hits a certain point in the movie where there are a few decisions made where you just go, what am I watching? Like, what is happening right now? How is this a Five Nights at Freddy's movie? When you think back to the first game or whatever I can remember, it really feels like a studio movie that was made to appeal to much younger audiences. But most of the people who, I mean, technically I grew up playing the games. I mean, I didn't, but like I grew up with the same people that played the games. We're older now, so they could have made this scarier. The best kill in the entire movie is one that is shown just through shadows. And when this film goes with the very small horror moments, showing stuff in the shadows, showing like just stuff like that without getting into it, it's actually decent. There are a lot of very good ideas here, but because this film is trying to appeal to such a wide and broad audience, it really doesn't hit in the end. And I'm not saying this film is terrible. I don't think it's a good movie. I think that Josh Hutcherson is very good. I think Matthew Lilard is good. I think Elizabeth Lail, however you say her name, is also very good. I think the acting, you know, it's good for what they're given. And there are some fun, enjoyable moments here. But overall, it's such a terrible word to describe it, but it feels disappointing. It's not that there isn't a complete story. It's that the story has so much going on in it, but it doesn't ever focus on the right things. And whenever you want to know what's happening here, it's focusing on what's happening here or what's happening here. And it just feels like they tried to fill this movie with a bunch of ideas, but didn't shave off any of the parts of it. And the movie's only like an hour and 50 minutes. So that probably is why it probably was originally a longer script, because again, there is so much here. But even some of the changes, the very baseline changes, were off-putting, and they're set up to be kind of what you expect and then change, but it's not for the better. And I know that I'm kind of talking a lot about some of the stuff like that, but as a movie, it's not very well directed. It's horribly written. The acting's fine. The visuals are good. I should say that. The visuals are very good, very believable. There wasn't really moments where I was like, oh, that looks like CGI, or oh, that looks like whatever. I did enjoy that. Cinematography is all right. There are some weird close-up type angles, you could say, some choices, mainly with the whole flashback mystery part of the movie, but like the colors look nice. There were certain colors that popped. Again, the shadows look nice when they are in the movie, but there just isn't a lot of that. And as I said, I can see a lot of people just not coming out feeling like they watched a fulfilling movie. It will appeal to younger audiences probably, but for the majority of people, this one will not hit at all. When Five Nights at Freddy's leans into its horror elements, the movie isn't bad, but unfortunately that's not the main route they decide to take. Josh Hutcherson, Matthew Lilard, and Elizabeth Lail are all good, and the visuals are incredible. The main issues with the movie, though, come down to its odd story, weird dialogue, and attempts at comedy. There's enough here for fans of the games to enjoy, but plenty will be disappointed. I'm going to give Five Nights at Freddy's a 2.5 out of 5. Okay, now I want to quickly talk about my theater experience here. I was gonna, like, when it first started, I was like, okay, I gotta make a video on this, but no, I'm gonna nicely, hopefully, talk about the theater experience here. This is, without a doubt, the worst theater experience I've had. I understand that some of the people here are younger kids, but that is not my issue. That was not the problem. There was like one time where a kid just yelled out something that was just awkward. They just yelled out awkward silence, and it was just weird. But I was like, whatever. This kid's like 8, and it was fine. The problem is that people were talking the entire movie, and it wasn't just little kids. It wasn't just teenagers. It was about 75 to 85% of the people in there. Whenever there was a scare, whenever there was something that was even remotely funny, even like the tiniest thing that's like that really didn't hit, they would laugh and then discuss why it's funny. Or if something's scary, they would like, it would have me like, oh my god, that was so scary. Oh, I didn't get scared by that. How'd you not get scared of that? Whatever. And there was just so much talking that this is basically what it felt like. I mean, I'm going to try to simulate with editing as I randomly talk over here to get what I was feeling there. With me stuttering over here kind of shows it. I could hear the movie fine, but it completely took out any tension, anything like that. Not that there was a ton in the movie in general, but it really took away from other Easter egg, maybe moments here, and people jumping at the littlest things for all different reasons. It was just brutal. And as I said, it was cool before when you have people who are like dressed up as the animatronics, like not fully, but like they have little makeup on or whatever. That's interesting. And when I first saw like the first people, I turned to my friends. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. Then I got in the theater and I saw like more than 30 people with it, and I went, oh, so it's going to be like that. And I'm not hating on the Five Nights at Freddy's community. I know it's a very loyal fan base, but this is not like a Spider-Man Far From Home or Infinity War type thing. I understand fans of the video game will be seeing this movie, and I know seeing it opening night as soon as I could maybe wasn't the call. And as I said, like you should see this at the latest showing possible. But there's a certain thing with respect in the movie theater. Even with No Way Home or whatever, I think I said No Way Home. If I said Far From Home, my bad. You just can't talk during the movie like that. Even if there's a big scene, if there's a cameo, if there's a moment that's like, oh, that's cool, or that's a reference to this, turn to your friend quietly and say it. People were just speaking out loud to their friends. Not like this. It was like, oh, did you see that? Did you see that? Times whatever. So it was pretty brutal. And I do think that took away some of my enjoyment of the movie, although I don't plan to watch this one again because as a film, it wasn't that interesting. But I felt like that's worth mentioning for a few reasons. One being, maybe that's why some of my thoughts are the way they are. But if you're going to this movie and if you're watching this, if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan and you're going to dress up and all this, that's totally cool. Just don't fucking talk during the movie. This goes for any movie ever. If you want to turn and whisper something to your friend, that's fine. But when you have conversations for half the movie, more than half the movie, I should say, almost everything up until certain parts in the third act, there was talking. And it was brutal. And I actually don't know how, like, somebody didn't yell out or, worker didn't come and say, hey guys, like, quiet down, whatever. This is not Taylor Swift movie. This is an actual movie. I understand the fan thing. I have to say, I understand the fan thing. I'm a fan of many things. That doesn't mean you get to talk during the movie. That's just something I did want to touch on. It's not exactly part of the review, but it is worth mentioning as a warning that this might happen to you. And I feel like this will be something that will be said by many people. And again, it wasn't just little kids. It was people from ages probably 8 to 30, 35, something like that. So it was definitely an issue. But anyway, if you've seen Five Nights at Freddy's, let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Am I totally wrong? Did the theater experience ruin it for me? Did you really like it? Or do you agree with all the critics and me and most people for this movie? But thank you all for watching. I will see you guys next time. Over and out.